All right, so today is the day. If every video could be like this, we'd be in business, because I love this day. And this day, is wheel install day. Now, if you missed the last video, we built these things. These are Autostrada Modena wheels, and they are styled after Ferrari F40 wheels. They look almost exactly the same. And I built these to be super low offset. Now, these are only 8s, and I understand that's not very wide. And we may end up making them bigger in the future. The rears are gonna be huge though, but they're not in yet. I've still gotta wait on parts. So we're gonna go ahead and start on the front wide body of this car. Now, I haven't built a wide body in a while, and I'm really, really excited about this one. But the first thing we've gotta do is get the old wheels off and throw these babies on and see how wide this thing's actually gonna be. Let's do it.
If you lifted a heavy pipe up, you have to eat an eyeball. And if you ate an eyeball, you will not be happy about it because those are yucky. And if you had a nut, you could put it on your eye and glue your eye in to like a hat or something. And if you dropped it, it'll be just right beside you.
What are you talking about?
Kids at home. Answer to our comment to watch our videos when we do all the nighttime dark car videos, or you can find it on YouTube to find it gooder and better to make finding.
Well, what time are you supposed to go to bed?
30.
7:30. What time is it right now?
20.
It's after 7:30, isn't it? Are you supposed to be in bed?
No.
What are you supposed to be doing?
Watching you.
All right, there we go.
I found the charging cable.
Step 1 complete.
Hey, I wanted to listen to that. Put it back up here.
Hang on, I gotta film this real quick. Step 1 is complete. These wheels are very, very wide. Now, I did think they were gonna be wider than this, honestly, but I think this is gonna be okay.
You have to wait. Get up on the wheel to see inside the engine.
Yeah, this is his test. Whenever I wide body cars, he stands on the wheels
Yeah.
to see if they stick out far enough.
Yeah.
That's an actual test. We actually do that every time.
Because that.
Yep, because that. So they do stick out pretty far. This one looks like it's sticking out a little bit further. I think it's just turned
on the other side.
to the left a little bit.
Get on the wheel.
Yeah, this is turned in a little bit, so that's why it doesn't look like it's sticking out as far. But that's pretty good. Now, the cool thing about this setup, is these are 3-piece wheels, and I have over there some 7-inch lips as well. So if I did want to take this wheel and move it out another inch, I have the ability to do that. And then if I want to build it in another inch or two, I can do that as well. I just have to order custom parts. So I do think that eventually we'll make this like a 10-inch wheel, so a 6-inch lip and then like a 4-inch barrel. But for now, this is the most cost-effective thing for me to do, and it still gets me the same look that I want. So like I said, we may go to the 7-inch lip if I think it's feasible, but for now, I'm gonna stick with this for building purposes. Now, the kit that I got,
Porsche 911 2018!
yeah, Porsche 911, not from a 2018. These are from an older
2018 Porsche!
air-cooled 911. And this wide body kit is made for that car. Now, if you're new to the channel, what I really like to do is take wide bodies that are made for different cars and adapt them to whatever I want.
Whatever you want, you have to have what you want!
You have to have what you want. We're beyond bedtime, so he's in delirium. So anyway, I do love Porsche 911s. I really love the air-cooled ones, and I really love wide body ones. Anyway, so we're gonna put this on this car. Now, the rear I'm really excited about because, as you know, old 911s, especially the wide body ones, are really, really wide. But like I said, we haven't built those wheels yet, so we're gonna start on the front. And I think this is gonna be pretty great, actually. You can see it's just going to go on something like that. It'll actually be more like this. And we'll have to chop it and cut it up a little bit to get it to fit this car specifically. So the front end of this car is a little bit shorter than the 911. So as you can see, it kind of hangs out there. It's no big deal. We're gonna have to build something there anyway. But overall, it matches up pretty well with the MG. Now, I would prefer to have this car already lowered to whatever height I'm using the car at before I build the wide body. But there's so many options with lowering these cars and suspension work in these cars that I'm just gonna go ahead and build the wide body with kind of the factory fender line in mind. And we'll drop the car later on and figure out the way we want to tackle that. The suspension in this is really dated, so there's a lot of different things you can do to update it. I don't know how crazy we're going to get, but I don't want to handle that right now. I'm ready to build something. Is it chases that you're talking about? You get it? Hey, good job, dude. Here's the plug. Okay. There you go. Keep pulling. Good job. All right, so now you take this. Go get your screw and we'll put this back together. That's good. Let's test it. Yep, back together. All by yourself. That's awesome.
Okay, there we go. There we go, Daddy.
Nice. Alright, so obviously this is a little bit of a rough vision, but at least it'll give you something to think about, or at least to show you what's going on in my brain. So the front fenders, as you can see, fit pretty well. I have to decide if I'm going to make like a vent back there or if I want them to kind of contour to the body. I just don't know yet. But I'll decide that. Basically the material is going to tell me what it wants to do. The front lip is a stock front lip, and we could run it like this, but what you're going to run into issues with if you don't go wider on your bumper is this part of your tire is going to come in and catch right here when you turn in. And I dealt with that with the Corolla. I ended up having to cut a ton of the Corolla bumper away. And it doesn't look terrible, but I want to do this differently. So I'm actually going to section this, I think, in the middle and move it out so that this width is going to match the width of my fender. And I may end up making a piece to connect these. I'm not really sure what that's going to look like yet. But basically, this front lip width is going to match this width right here, or the width of my tire. It's going to make turn-in make a lot more sense. I'm not going to have to cut so much of I'll cut the body away still, but it'll still look, it's just going to look better. I don't even know how to explain it. You guys will see. The fender obviously has to be shortened a bit and kind of pulled in over here around the headlight. That's not that big of a deal either. We can do that. And then that's really it. The front contour, or the top contour, is almost perfect. I mean, this thing, we could mold this fender in if we wanted to. But this, obviously this side over here is made to match up to a bumper, which we don't have. And then the back goes at a different angle than what we're using. So there are solutions. I've just got to figure out which one I want to use. For now, I'm going to call it my children are still awake and it's way past their bedtime. I'm going to come back out here tomorrow, make some pretty solid decisions, try to get these kind of soft mounted with some double-sided tape, and then I can start cutting and deciding really what direction we're going to go. See you in a second. So I did test fit the rear fenders last night just because I couldn't help myself, and this car is going to be so wide. I mean, it will be the widest car like over its factory width that we've ever built easily, like very easily. But we're not there yet because we don't have wheels for that. We do have wheels for this, and I was thinking that they were not wide enough originally, but I think they're actually gonna be the perfect width, which is great because I measured for that, but you know, measuring doesn't always work, for me anyway. So what we've gotta do now is make this kit fit this car, and I think I can do this all today. Maybe that's super hopeful, maybe I'm being unrealistic, but I have a plan. I've been thinking about different ways to build wide body kits. I try to do it a different way every time, or incorporate new ideas every time, because I want to find the fastest and most accurate way to build these kits, and I think I've got them, and it's going to be using this. These are like cake boxes, so it's fairly thin cardboard, but it'll hold its shape. I'm gonna use this for complex curves, and then we're gonna use regular cardboard to shape out everything else. And if there's some sort of shape that's super complex that I can't make with the cardboard, I'm gonna use either my clay or foam method. I get a lot of questions about how to build body kits. The best thing to do is just whatever you can use that. I don't know, it's always trial and error for me. All right, where to start? All right, so because I get so many questions about kit development, I'm gonna go through my thought process in this video. That way I can link it to people when they ask me kind of how I start and what I do to develop my kits. I use 3 materials to build kits out of in their basic form. That's cardboard, foam, and clay. And the material depends on what shape I'm trying to make, honestly. We're gonna use mostly cardboard for this kit because this matches so well. I'm not gonna need a lot of foam, I don't think. And the goal is to make this thing look as finished as possible before you start putting fiberglass on. In the past, I've made them kind of rough and then fiberglass it and fixed it in the fiberglass. You don't want to do that because it's going to take way more fiberglass, which is more expensive. It's going to take way more time, which is also expensive. And it's not going to look as good in the end. So if you can get it as close to the final product before you start putting glass on, it's going to look a lot better in the end. But the hardest part to me of this whole thing is getting these fenders placed in a spot where they're going to work. Now, I learned a lot about this in the Corolla. But basically, especially on the front, you've got to have room for turning your wheels turning in on both directions. So this outer edge right here is going to want to clip. Like if I turn the wheels right now, it's going to hit this, right? And then back here, if I take this and suck it all the way back like this into the body of the car, it looks real clean, but unless you come way back, like what you see on a lot of the Rocket Bunny kits, they'll extend the fender backwards a little bit, you're going to hit that fender. So what we're going to do on this one, I'm going to take some notes off of the RWB kits, and we're going to widen the front end so that this tire will tuck up inside of there. And then we're going to actually pull this fender out some and try to line it up with the sidewall of the tire. And then just hold it there. And we'll build back, or we'll add a scoop or something kind of like that. I haven't decided yet. But either way, you got to make sure that you have room for turning. Now, if it's your first time, just trial and error it. Keep turning the wheel, check everything, check your clearances. Because I've done this a few times, I kind of know where the wheel is going to hit and what's going to happen, and I hope I'm not shooting myself in the foot by saying that in a video or two. I end up having to cut and remake the whole thing. I think I know what I'm doing. We'll see. But first, what we've got to do is get this thing placed. So I'm just trying to get it rotated the right direction. I think I'm going to make it so that this is level to the ground. I think that's going to be my main kind of reference. And I want it even with my wheel opening. That's very important. If you mount it too low, it's going to look funny. If you mount it too high, you're not going to be able to get your car low enough for it to not look like a 4x4. So I'm going to mount it even with the fender well, with the stock fender line, and that should be good. All right, let's do it. So from here, we are going to grab our tape measure. And I'm just going to take some kind of measurements from different areas. Now, basically every part of this car is curved, which is why it honestly looks so pretty just in its stock form. But that means that it's going to be hard to kind of get some serious numbers. But I'm going to take a bunch of measurements from a bunch of different areas and make sure that our fenders are basically matching each other. Now, this fender, I'm lucky because it fits this car really well. I know it doesn't look like it now, but you'll change your mind in a couple of episodes. But because of that, because it fits, it's pretty easy to get it lined up and get them really close to either side. So we're going to kind of dial that in now and probably find the place where these fenders are going to live the rest of their life. So this is going to be my spot. They match almost exactly on both sides. The points that I was lining up were these, so I'm trying to line this little cutback right here with the headlight for a design feature later on, and then also just the radius of the wheel opening. So if you look, you'll see this one is pretty even with the stock opening here, and then it kind of slants backwards a little bit back there because this over here is mounted away right now. We'll fix that. And then if you come to this side, you'll see that it matches. So it's basically even with the stock fender line, and then it goes backwards back here. A little bit of measuring, everything looks good. Now the tops of these are really easy because the fender just kind of self-locates itself. I guess that this kind of fender hump thing that leads into your headlight is very similar, very close to the same contour of the 911 because, I mean, it matches up just great. Really, really great. Now, normally right here, I would just like run some screws into it and leave it there, and then I could build without having to worry about it falling off or losing my spot. Now, you saw, you know, it took a lot of trial and error to get this placement. I think what I'm gonna do though, instead of doing that, is grab this paint pen, and we're just gonna trace our fender line. This is gonna give us a placement. If this blue tape does let go, this will give us a placement. This will also serve as a guide. When I go to cut the fenders, I'll be able to tell where my new fender is. That is my first time using this method, and I am a huge fan. Being able to flip these little templates and make a mirror image is like, this would have taken me so long with like foam to get it to match, and that's, I mean, that's awesome. It's like perfect. So you can see, originally I was gonna cut the fender, but I decided to try to extend these headlight buckets just to kind of change it up a little bit and make this thing really look modified, and I think that's gonna do the trick. That looks really cool. And now our fenders look like they fit. Look at that. Look. I haven't used this method before. I am super surprised by how easy that was to build two mirror objects. That's the hardest part about this whole thing, is mirroring everything so it looks like it's exactly the same. There's always gonna be some variances when you build stuff by hand, but this is pretty close. All right, let's keep moving. Now this thing is stock width, so we are gonna have to widen it, and to me the easiest way to widen this whole thing is going to be just chop it right down the middle, pick our width, and then build something in the center. Not the best cut I've ever made. Ugh. So overall, I'm like super happy with this. It came out really cool, and it makes sense. I think it's gonna work. This front bar is not sturdy enough to have this long of a run, basically. So I'm gonna come back with some cardboard in just a second and strengthen this up, make this real solid. I love the way this came out though. I think we could actually put a bash bar behind it. It's got enough room back there, so that's pretty cool. I don't know how I feel about these extended headlight buckets. They look kind of cool. They look kind of weird. I think maybe if they came in earlier, it'd look cooler. I don't know, but I think I'm just gonna roll with it and keep going. I'm trying not to get too hung up on stuff like that. And later on, if I feel like I don't like it, I'll just make a new bumper. So overall, though, I think this is gonna be really cool. My idea is to basically make this lip and then all of this just one big piece of fiberglass, and basically create a new bumper for this car. We did add about, what is this? Probably 8 inches, 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches of width to the front to make everything come out wider. And I think it's really gonna work well as far as turning the wheels go and just clearance overall. So what's gonna happen next is I've gotta strengthen this up, make this with something that likes like being straight, you know, like some thicker cardboard or something, just to make this kind of work a little bit better. You can see it's just wavy and I don't wanna have to deal with that. So I'm gonna do that. And then I have an idea that may be a really great idea and it may be a really terrible idea, and I'm just not sure, but we're gonna try it. And yeah, we're just gonna try it. But first, let's put some cardboard in this thing. right, so there you go. I'm really happy with this. This came out really good. So the tape serves two purposes. The first is just for you guys so that you can kind of see what's going on. A lot of times, especially on camera, when there's a lot of different pieces connected and it's just a lot of different colors and stuff, it's hard to see the actual design. So this kind of helps you out to see the design of the bumper. I'm really happy with it. I think it looks cool. Oh, but the second part is I needed a base. Well, actually, I guess there's three parts. The second part is I needed a base for the next step, and the tape's going to be that. The third part is when you tape all this stuff together, it gets a lot more solid. So this is a lot more rigid now because everything is taped together. It's not a bunch of seams holding everything together. It's all held together kind of with one solid tape mask. So it's a lot stronger, but it's also ready for the next step. Before we do that, I'm going to pull the headlights out. I just wanted to show it to you guys before I did that because it still looks like a drivable car right now. We could probably drive it with this. Nah, we won't. Let's keep moving. I don't know if this is a good idea, but it is a idea. Or an idea. Either way, I'm going to use drywall putty mud to finish this thing out. I think it's going to work. This stuff is water soluble. It dries fairly quickly, but more important than that, it's very easy to shape in sand. And so my thought is I can smooth all of this out, add some strength with this stuff. This stuff really likes paper because drywall is basically paper, and this tape is paper. So I think it'll bond to this really well. I can smooth out all my edges, make it flat and nice, and minimize the amount of work I have to do with fiberglass. That's the goal. I hope it works. We're going to test this out right here on Build. If you're not familiar with this, then chances are you don't own a house yet, because when you buy a house, you will become very familiar. It's basically Bondo for your walls. A little bit easier to work with, a lot less toxic, and way easier to sand. So let's see what we can do. Normally you would thin this stuff out with water, at least I do when I work on it on walls, but I think less water is probably better in this scenario. Ta-da! Now if you're concerned, maybe you have the right to be. I don't know, we'll see. But basically now we've got to wait. We're just gonna let this stuff dry out. Normally it takes around 24 hours, but I think because I didn't wet it down with water, it should dry a little bit faster than that. The stuff on my fingers is already starting to dry, so that's a good sign. But basically we're building up basically a surface is the goal. And this is not, if you've never watched me build parts before, this is not the part. I'm not gonna try to drive this with tape and drywall putty, although it might be funny to try to build a car out of drywall putty. Not this one, but it's just a buck or a kind of a mold, I guess. It's just the shape that I want my fiberglass, which is the final part, to be in. And so this is all just getting it very, very smooth so that I can do the fiberglass work as fast as possible. This stuff shapes very easily. Fiberglass takes a really long time to shape, so if I can get most of my shaping out of the way in this stage, I'll save time with the long stage, which is fiberglassing. Overall, I'm super happy with how this came out. This happened really fast, which is pretty exciting, and it looks really good. It's super symmetrical, which is awesome. That's the hardest part. I normally stay away from front ends, honestly. I've never done, you may have noticed I've never done any sort of like custom front bumper. I always just alter the one that's already there, and that's because symmetry is really hard, and you don't really notice the symmetry on the fenders, but you do notice it on the bumper. So this came out really great. I'm really happy with how symmetrical everything looks, the strength of it all so far, and I think it's all kind of coming together really, really nice. So we're gonna let this dry overnight and then I'll come back and sand it, but you're gonna have to come back to the next video to see that because I don't wanna have to make you guys wait until this thing is all the way dry. So we're gonna stop right here in this just absolute mess, and we'll pick right back up at this spot in the next video on this car. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. This is like what I love. This is the part of building cars that I really, truly enjoy. And that being said, I have decided I kind of want to focus more on this kind of stuff. I feel like that's why most of you guys joined the channel in the first place. And I want this car to be fast and I want it to perform well, but I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time getting it there. So here's kind of my I'm just gonna throw this out there, and if this resonates with anybody, let me know. I want to make this car fast. It needs a different engine. This engine is just not gonna do it, especially with how wide the rear is gonna be. I'm planning on putting a new rear end in it. I'm planning on, you know, setting up the brakes and everything for more power. But I want to do an engine swap, but I don't want to spend a bunch of time on it because it's going to kill the channel. And so if you have ever done engine swaps on this car, please let me know. Send me an email, caleb@builtofficial.com, or you can message me on Instagram, but email is way easier for me to keep up with. I would love to do, I know there's a 302 kit for a V8 swap into this, which I would love to do. I love the 302, it's a great motor. There's a 60-degree V6 swap that it's not a great motor. They make like 170 wheel horsepower, which is okay, but I don't think it's gonna be enough for the way that we're building this car. I think we're really gonna need more in the neighborhood of 280 to 300 at least. So a V8 would definitely be the best. So I'm saying that to say this: if you have experience swapping these cars or swapping any car, I think I want to be able to do a swap in about a week, maybe 2. So if you would like to come help me with a swap, then let me know in the comments below. Actually, send me an email. I don't know, get in touch with me. And I do want to put that on the books. I want to figure out something to do, but I want to do it with somebody that's got some experience, so it doesn't take so long. And so I can spend more time doing stuff like this. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. We will keep on moving on this front end. Hopefully my wheels will be here very soon. I'm very, very hopeful that they will come in. And by the time we get done with this part of the build, we can just move straight into the back, which is gonna be really, really cool. All right, I think that's all for this one. I'll see you guys in just a few days.